Welcome to this video on the most recent developments on UFC 303. Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is now cancelled. Just really going through the breakdown of how this has happened and basically what will be happening to replace this event at UFC 303. So obviously has been cancelled, officially confirmed by the UFC that it has now been cancelled due to an injury to McGregor, and is now being replaced. The main event is now being replaced by the title fight of Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska. So still a great fight again, but it's nowhere near the level of fight that it was with McGregor and the press conference that was cancelled in Ireland. So just going through, really, I think there's a massive dip now. A lot of people have already paid for this event. It's not too far away. International Fight Week, probably two or so weeks away now. So a lot of people have spent money on it being McGregor. I think it's something like 15 days now. So 15 days from now, we got a fight, and a load of people have paid for McGregor, and really, to be honest, no one in the UFC currently can command the money that McGregor has done. So it's going to be, UFC are going to be out majorly out of pocket, mainly due to them basically 15 days before they've got everything pretty much paid up to get this event off the ground and make it happen, with the idea that, if you're looking at stadiums, you'll do a bigger stadium for McGregor than you will someone else, because people will buy the tickets where them tickets are sold. You're no longer getting McGregor, you're no longer providing that event that everyone thought of. So I do think there'll be a lot of refunds going out, mainly because, I think Alex Pereira, great fighter. I think if you enjoy the UFC, but I think McGregor brings in a different crowd of people who don't care about the UFC. They don't watch it, but they care about what McGregor does, and that was the whole point of people being there. So I think, look, also the seat prices, you're talking majorly inflated for a McGregor fight compared to any other fight. So I think that is another thing where at least you'll give partial refunds to UFC fans to make sure you are, because if it's either giving partial refunds or full on refunds, I think that they will go for partial. But I think a lot of people are just going to be pulling out this event totally, because it's not providing the event they want. Also, pay-per-view, some people will not be interested within this now. They only watch for McGregor. So I think it's a bad day for the UFC. I think they're going to be quite out of pocket from this event being, say, 15 days out, now being announced that it's not going to happen. Apparently to an injury of McGregor. I do think that something's happened. We'll find out at some point, but I would guess that due to the press conference being cancelled, it'll be something very quite obvious that people would see, and it would make people nervous to pull out straight off the bat. I think that it would have called a lot into question, where at that point the UFC didn't know if he could fight or not. So I think that's why they just, the press conference stopped, and they checked with the doctors, what, is he going to be able to fight or not? Because if we're not, what's the point of paying everyone for this press conference, getting it all sorted, when he can't even fight? So, they've done it the way they have. A great fight, Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska. I think it's a great fight. I do think Alex Pereira gets it done still, but an amazing fight to replace it. I do think, though, look, it's going to be nowhere near the buy power that it was, and 15 days out, it becomes a problem where everything has already been organised and paid for these type of events, and the UFC will be totally out of pocket for that. So I think it's a more competitive fight. I think it's up at that top end level of current fighters. I don't think it's this fight where McGregor's coming back and that's the interest. I think it's because these guys are the best in the world. I do think that. I think it really ties back into the UFC more, whereas the other one was literally, it's McGregor coming back. Do you want to see it or not? So yeah, I think it's a great fight, but it's nowhere near the expectation, what people expected. And I do think the stadium that they've got, I don't think it sells out. I think they lose a lot of customers. I think you'll see problems like that go throughout the event. I think it's a great card though. For a UFC fan, it's a great card, an amazing card. But I think, look, they found out about this injury. It's way too late on. Now, you're talking about the press conference being like the 3rd or 4th of June. You found out, I think, probably yesterday that, the official announcement went out yesterday. Look, that's a good at least 10 days on, nearly, from when that press conference has been cancelled. So it's a bit like, well, you're really pushing people to the point where, hotels have been booked, everything's been paid for by customers to get to the event and make this event happen for them. I do think it's going to be a problem for the UFC not to be able to. Firstly, I think likelihood is they'll have to refund. It's not the product that, and people who haven't bought the pay-per-view yet, I don't think they will. I think a lot of people won't buy that now. And I think that's a problem for the UFC. I think that they put a lot of money into this, and they're not going to see that returned. So they have to get McGregor back in at some point. They haven't, to be honest, they haven't released a time when McGregor is able to come back or likely to come back. So I think that's a problem. I think this injury is quite significant to the point where they don't know or wouldn't like to confirm, because, to be honest, they want to keep the money. They would likely tell consumers that, look, this is going to happen, but it will be in August or something like that. And I mean, to be honest, people would, that would make sure that business-wise they keep the money within their business and don't have to refund, because they'd likely say to people, look, we can push it to August and you'll get the same seat, same whatever. And that would appease quite a few people who are going to these McGregor event. I think it's very strange that they haven't said that when they will be putting McGregor back in. And I thought that it was either going ahead and that's why we haven't heard anything, or they're waiting to basically say, look, this is going to be pushed back, but there's a date we know. Because I don't think if they could tell people a date when he'll be returned against Chandler, they would say at exactly the same time when they say this event is cancelled. Well, McGregor's cancelled off this event. So I think that's a bit of an odd one. I think it's significant enough to mean that they don't know when he'll be back. And, McGregor's leg, I'm not saying it is, but, put 2 and 2 together and get 5. It's a bit odd one where you broke your leg and you're saying it in training they're saying it's strong enough, but is it really? What's happening? Because this just seems a bit of a coincidence that suddenly you're trying to come back off a very severe leg injury and you've had a severe injury, which is would likely you'd be able to see it if they haven't done the press conference and they don't know he's going to come back. Look, there's enough there to sort of suggest that he's got some severe injury with his leg still, or if it's something else, that's a bigger concern. You're coming back of a leg break and then suddenly you've got another injury which is significant enough to mean that they don't know when you're going to be back. I mean, that's going to be more scary if it isn't that leg. So please let me know what you think in the comments below. I think the event is still incredible and I'll still be covering it, but a big loss for people who are, only McGregor fans and people who've paid. That's the thing. You're 15 days out. It's a difficult one to now rearrange. So please let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.